can't get these guys out here unless you give us the right energy to bring them out. Do you think you can do that for me? Really show these people what that is all about? Here's the Fred Tatasiore.
He's ready.
Hey guys.
All right. Now
How's everybody doing?
we got to settle the weekend off right.
That's right. MegaCon is winding down, drawing to a close, but it's been a great time. You enjoyed yourself?
It's been incredible. It's great seeing you guys. Really awesome.
Now, I know there are a lot of Mass Effect fans here in the room. You're here because these guys did some great work in a great piece of work that you love. I wanted to dial a little ways back before we get to Mass Effect.
Sure thing.
Good to see you all. Thank you.
And now, I should go. Actually, yes, I'm the guy who's getting on the plane, so sorry about that.
Every voice actor has a different story of how they got into voice acting itself, and it generally starts with some story about how they became a performer in the first place. No two people have exactly the same path to the job that you guys do. How did you find your way into performing, Mark?
Into performing, for me, it was a little of a roundabout way because I didn't even take drama in high school. I grew up in a very small town where you had the choice between academics or sports, and I certainly didn't choose sports. We
can tell from your rippling physique.
Exactly, my Solarian build. But when I moved to Edmonton, because I grew up in a town of like 900 people, and when I enrolled in university, I was enrolled in science. But once I got to the city, I started doing improv, and I'd always been a sketch comedy fan, that kind of thing. And improv is what really led me into performing, and opened a lot of doors creatively and whatnot. And as far as voice acting, I did it the old-fashioned way. I went to a cattle call audition back when BioWare was still holding. It was just like, everybody in town, show up, and we'll be in this one spot all day. And they set up in a recording studio in Edmonton. I think, dozens of people that I knew trooped through there, including lots of people I didn't. And I essentially managed to land a one line in Baldur's Gate 2. Like, from that cattle call, they went, okay, this guy for that single line. But at that point, they had my number. They just kept calling me back. There was the fact that I was a nerd. I was a Dungeons & Dragons player, and BioWare was doing Dungeons & Dragons games at the time. So there was a bit of a shorthand. They could call, they knew, like, I lived 10 minutes away from the studio on foot.
I'll grab my bag of holding and be there in 15 minutes.
Exactly, just like that. So they could put me in the booth and go, okay, so this guy's a 12th level paladin, and I just go, oh, so he's lawful good, he probably has a war horse, does he have the Holy Avenger yet? I just knew exactly that they could put me in a booth and say, you're doing a kobold shaman. I wouldn't go, what's a kobold? What's a shaman? They could just instantly know that I'd hit the ground running. So that's how I think I got on the BioWare's good books, and they keep calling me back.
What was that one line in Baldur's Gate 2?
I was in the final cutscene. You had to play the entire game to see
So spoilers for
a game from 20 years ago, but get ready. I was one of the evil Baal, the priests of Baal, or the clerics at the end. Essentially, once you've beaten the game, you see, it's like, oh, but the villains are still plotting. And my line was, there is no need for concern. The fate of this fool is sealed. That was it.
I'm glad they remastered Baldur's Gate 2.
Yeah, and actually, because that was one of my first voice gigs, it was kind of nice to go back and do all the enhanced editions with Beamdog. And they added in new characters. There's a new villain I played called Bailoff the Entertainer, who's a drow. And I got to be a few of the party characters, like the companion characters as well in that. And so it was really nice to get to revisit some of my very first voice work with these new expanded editions.
Now we'll let Fred talk in just a second, but you mentioned going to the big city, Edmonton.
The big city of Edmonton.
So you grew up in a small town in Alberta?
I did, yes.
So Alberta, for those of you Floridians, I grew up in Texas. Alberta, the Texas of Canada.
It is, yes. And Calgary is the Dallas of Canada.
Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth, alternate reality.
Edmonton is like the Austin of Canada. It's the more artsy center, and a sea of say liberalism in a very conservative ocean. It's not the most left-wing place. When you think of Canada, you usually think, oh, everybody's pretty left-wing up there. Not in Alberta. They like guns and oil and beef, much like Texas does.
Yeah, to put it in Florida terms.
Not together, though.
Not together.
To put it in Florida terms, this is very specific.
All things in time.
For just you in the room. So you effectively grew up in the Live Oak. of Alberta.
Yes. I assume that reference makes sense.
There we go. Yeah, it tracked.
That guy liked it.
So Fred, what pushed you into performing?
I just pushed myself into it. For me, I've just always been into animation, and like you, a nerd, and just really into comics and stuff. And so, for me, I've always been into voice acting. I borrowed or stole my dad's tape recorder. Back in the day, we had these things, tapes, and when I was fighting the Kaiser, we gave him what for? It was an oil painting. And I would record all sorts of voices. And I got into doing that, and then stand-up comedy as I got older. I remember in 5th grade, I did a little puppet show with a dog puppet, teaching him how to blow his nose or something like that. And I wanted to be a comedian and do all that. And I kind of ended up doing that a little bit in college, and then got into improv, like you got to doing that. And then that got me into theater, and the classical theater. So I studied that. I did all Shakespeare stuff, and that was my deal with doing music and then I was also into art. I got into school for design and art, and I wanted to be ultimately an animator. And I still am an animator, but I was doing voices for other people's films, and basically actor-animator. And animation is the slowest acting you'll ever do, because instead of going, hey everybody, you're going, it's like 12 drawings later. And so I showed a guy named Don Pitts some animation stuff, and then he's like, yeah, he just passed away. He was a great guy. That's kind of got that rolling. That whole career, the two careers collided.
So when you're actually doing the board work, and they say, we need a scratch voice for this thing. Fred, why don't you just, throw something at it?
That was my job for a long time. I worked as an archivist and a cleanup artist, and I would do the boards, the animatics. And to this day, even I'll get called in to do some animatics, because they, a lot of times movies, they need to have a famous person, which is fine. Not bitter. No, they need to have that more qualified actor, let's call it. No, and they have every right. It's all good. But what you're doing when you do the scratch work, you're really helping them make their movie. You're kind of like coming up with some ideas, and and then sometimes you'll get that part, or you'll get some other parts in the movie, and so it's kind of a neat collaborative thing.
Yeah, I actually did like a lot of, in my early work for BioRail, a lot of it was scratch work, demo stuff. For Knights of the Old Republic, I did a lot of stuff on that.
It's a good job.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Because you get paid to do it.
Yeah. Wait, they paid you?
Yeah.
I paid them! Wait a minute!
That was your mistake, Fred. That was your mistake.
That's what happened.
And funnily enough, on Knights of the Old Republic, I was the demo Carth Onassi. And the person who ended up actually landing that job was Raphael Sbarge, who plays Caden in Mass Effect. So I made the joke with Raphael. We were on a panel at Dragon Con. It's like, yeah, Raphael, that's why I killed you on Vermeer. You took that gig and the Star Wars game from me. That's okay. I'd rather be Commander Shepard than Carth Onassi.
Well, if you bring up Commander Shepard, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, what is it like sharing such an iconic role with somebody as wonderful as Jennifer Hale?
Well, I was a huge fan of Jennifer's before we ever worked together. Like, I loved her animation work. I was a big Justice League Unlimited fan, of course. So she was and even before that on the Bruce Timm and Paul Dini Batman cartoons, she was the go-to Zatanna. I think she was Giganta, she was Killer Frost, I think. So she did like lots of work, and when I found out that I was being cast with her, it's sort of like finding out, oh, you're gonna be in a movie, you'll be playing opposite Meryl Streep, and you'll be playing the same character, so.
It's a big deal.
It was intimidating, yeah. And she is fantastic. We didn't actually meet when we were recording, we met through cons, as I've met most of you. I should mention, this con was the first time that Fred and I were ever in the same room together, despite being the hero and villain of that game.
Finally.
Hello, Shepard. It's been a long time. Last time it didn't work so well.
Yeah. It worked out great for me. I got 2 sequels. How come
Not bad for a human.
Yes. How come you weren't in the? Oh yeah, I remember, because I killed you.
I had it coming.
That's right. But a very sympathetic villain. I think everyone.
Thank you.
Finally, the nightmare ship of people's dreams is reunited at last.
Here it is. I was not
So nice to finally.
Yes, yeah, no, Fred's a great guy, and I wish we'd met earlier during the recording process. But that's just the reality of video game recording. You very rarely do it animation style where everybody's in a room together. That's the idea.
Even animation is going further and further away
More
from
and
that.
more, yeah. This would be the man to ask about that, but it's in a way it's kind of cool that I get to meet my castmates, over the course of years as I do cons. The only person that I actually met during the recording process that I didn't already know before, like the Canadian actors, would have been Martin Sheen. And that was just because I happened to be in LA when he was recording, and my director said, "We're recording Martin today. Do you want to come to the studio?" Of course.
Martin Sheen?
Martin Sheen, yeah. And so Jennifer Hale actually came into the studio that day as well, so we got to meet him at the same time. It was really nice.
So there are a variety of different tools out there, people who want to become voice actors like yourselves. D. Bradley Baker has a wonderful website, iwantobeavoiceactor.com, in case you haven't already seen it.
Definitely check that out. That's like almost everything you need to know.
We were talking yesterday, Steve Bloom has
Steve
started
Bloom,
really
he started,
wonderful.
it's essentially a Facebook group that
Yeah.
he started, and with Bloom Vlogs Voice Community, I think it's called. And he basically answers all the questions. He sort of holds a little contest, like, hey, let's do a demo, let's try, this accent, let's try whatever. And I think, Steve Bloom is an excellent fellow, and so this is really something nice that he's done for the community, to give back.
Truly. And I think Yuri Lowenthal has a book with
Yes, true.
yeah.
And of course, if people haven't seen John DiMaggio's I Know That Voice documentary,
Watch the film.
watch the film.
That was my John, I'm sorry.
I'll get a couple
Damn it.
I have a couple more for you, and we're going to turn it over to you. When you go through the process of crafting a voice, creating a voice, some of the stories that I've loved hearing, Mark Hamill talking about how he put together the Joker, where he went back to the Universal horror movies and did kind of a mixture of different character actor voices that he liked. When you are creating something, are you finding yourselves doing the same thing? Are you finding your version of somebody else's voice, cadence, tone? What are some of those experiences that you've had?
Well, Commander Shepard is basically just me trying to sound tough, so there's that. But yeah, because I also play a wide variety of aliens and whatnot, and usually, or for example, in the Dragon Age games, where I'm sometimes humorous characters or sometimes random villains, I will usually, because I'm an improviser, I'll usually come up with them on the spot. I'll go into the booth, I'll give the director a bunch of options, they'll usually settle on one, or maybe if it's a short enough set, like we might try it 2 different ways and take it back to the writers and see what they like. So it's a very collaborative process in that sense. And again, just like cold reading and whatnot, being an improviser really it helps with all branches of acting, but I found that improv really helps with voice acting because you usually get little to no prep time going into it.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. Improv is really great because there's a lot of cold reading you'll do, and you do have to make things real for yourself very quickly. Yes, definitely voice and acting styles. I beg, borrow, steal from everything I can. That becomes hopefully something new. But yeah, I will definitely take a tonality of a certain character and try to adapt it, mix it with my own. Definitely, I'd say like Soldier 76 is a good example. That's basically my own voice. And when they asked me to do this, I was trying to find it, and kind of got into this sort of older Clint Eastwood thing, just kind of a crusty, thing. But then I had to move him into a softer place for me, and kind of a dad-like thing, as people have made the art influence that too, And Hulk, yeah, it was a mix of a lot of things that I heard over, my life. Lou Ferrigno and Ted Cassidy, who was Lurch, and a few other, just trying to get this down here, and yelling is, that's different. But and what his cadence was, and it was weird with Hulk. He had to evolve over time from the to like, I want to get some milk. So I had to play around with some. I also like to look up the histories. If you play an iconic character, it's good to try to know as much as you can about it. Well, Saren's another example. I didn't know where to go with that, and I kind of saw him as he should have been a good guy. I always equate him to Hannibal Lecter. You know, somebody who could have been a good guy. You know, but then just something really messed him up. You know, and so there were some rhythms there. Yeah, it's too bad I couldn't see you again. You know, that sort of very like I'm smartest guy in the room, but but I also have a reason for my doing that. So yeah, so you look at different actors, you try different things, and it's like a spice rack. You know what I mean? It's really weird. Even
Little
think
of
about
this,
it.
little of that.
Even when you do aliens or creatures, you're like, that's part crocodile. You know, or you know, whatever you're gonna do. You're thinking, that's an animal sound. I'll put it here. And yeah, it's a big spice rack or an effects rack for guitar players. You know.
And I'd say that applies to any actor, like whether you were doing a role in a movie or on stage or doing a voice. You do tend to, you know, like as Fred says, you spice rack of your experience, of your life experience, what you've observed, and then create a character from that.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, thank you so
We
much.
got vodka.
Let's not without getting the vodka, the natural pain relief.
Ah, it burns.
Now, the role of a voice director in animation, in video games, different directors have different styles, different approaches. You know, Charlie Adler, Gordon Hunt, Andrea Romano. There are a smaller set of voice directors than there are voice actors, which is a small world in and of itself. But what have you found that you have learned from, gained from working with different voice directors who've either matched your style of performance really well, taught you something, you know, dug you out of a difficult gig one time or another?
Speaking for myself, especially with the Mass Effect stuff, we relied very much on our directors because there was so much dialogue, especially for Jennifer and me. The amount that Shepard had to say, the amount of interactions, and of course we weren't doing it in linear order at all. So just to get you know, to be able to orient myself, where are we in the story, what's going on? I worked with Shauna Perry on the first game, Caroline Livingstone on the second, and then Caroline and Suzanne Hunka on the third. And as I say, I would have been completely lost without them. So they are probably the most important person to an actor in a booth. Because again, you are in a booth by yourself, and they have to be the one that sets the stage, lets you know what's going on, let you know the intensity, not only of the emotion you're feeling, but for example, you know, whether you're standing right next to someone and you're angry at them, or you're angry at someone who's like at the back of this room, and so your performance is going to be different in each case.
Fred,
I don't take direction. No, I don't believe in it. No, I'm going to completely agree with that because we've got these great directors. It is a collaborative effort. I think of it like music. They're the conductor, you're the instrument, and engineers are very important. You know, the idea of like, you have a very triumvirate going on. Of course, you got the writers and the producers and the creators there, but in that booth, you know, it's the engineer's room and the director is there to, again, give you all of that, can save you from doing too many takes, I mean, I just keep going. They have to tell me to stop.
Fred, you're too shredded.
I call it VOCD, you know, where I just like, the 37th take was a lot like the 17th take, but you know, I just keep going, and they will give you context, like you say. You know, you're outside, especially in games, because sometimes you don't get to see that script. You know, when I do television animation, I've hopefully read that script, I kind of know where I gotta be. But on some of these video games, you don't know. It's like, you can read a line like, oh no, you're on fire there. Oh! Oh, that changes the entire motivation. You know, so it's like, they are a crucial element.
And speaking of being on fire, of course, I think we both have a fair bit of experience with the sound palettes that they'll do at the end of the day, where it's like, you're being shot, you're being stabbed, you're falling downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite's electricity.
Yeah. And then in more recent games, it's combos. You know, you've been stabbed. Okay, you've been stabbed with something that's on fire. You've been stabbed with something that's there you go. That's right. See,
Just like, gotta have all those.
And scene. All right, we got it all.
We want to make that real for you on every game, so you don't have the same yell. So you do like 50 yells. It's really funny. Yes, I worked on video games. Might lose your voice.
I've got one more, actually, specifically for Fred before we turn it over to you guys. We were talking last night about a mutual friend of ours who won a handful of hardware at the recent Academy Awards, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
You worked on Troll Hunters with Guillermo. He is a man of the people. He has not changed after fame. Same guy he's been ever since ever.
Yeah.
What was it like being in the mix for Troll Hunters?
Well, again, here we are with a creator and a director who has such vision, okay? And you'd think he'd be a real auteur, like, I want to do it exactly, it's going to be exactly how I want. No, he lets you go. He believes in a collaboration. Again, the word spice is bringing up. He believes that everyone has the spice to make something, you know? And so it's really like...
Do whatever you want, Fred.
Do what you want. And if he's happy, and he laughs, that was good. Why would I change that? It's fine. You know, and he just lets people, you know, go. And on the show we have, you know, Rodrigo Blas, who's directing me all the time on the show. It's Troll Hunters is, we have our third season has dropped, so check it out if you haven't. I play Arg, and Backwaller, you know, wonderful troll woman. Who gets to flirt with him, actually. At some point, yeah, it's so, but he is always drawing. Oh, you know, he's exactly who you'd hope he'd be, you know. He's like really into the work, and again, he lets the artist, both of them both directors let the artists and the animators solve the problem and go, and then they'll guide it in a little bit. But I think that's kind of cool. That was, it's a real interesting, someone that believes in pure collaboration. It's amazing. And then still gets his vision across.
Let's take it to you.
Well, gentlemen.
Hello, sir.
So, I just want to once again say thank you for all your hard work of Mass Effect.
That's okay, they paid us. They paid you? Right, you gotta get an agent. You got to get an agent.
And also, really quick, I just wanted to say awesome performance with those scripts at the Back to the Future yesterday.
Yeah, who went to Twisted Tunes?
Always fun.
So here's my question to
Yes.
Commander Shepard.
Sir.
How did you feel of punching the reporter?
Well, I think I mentioned it.
Correct.
The reporter in question is, of course, Khaleesa Al-Jilani, and the renegade option when she is pestering you is to just punch the reporter in the face and not give the interview. That became a sort of a meme almost before there were memes. But the person who plays the reporter is a very good friend of mine, April Bannigan, and her brother Jacob was actually the best man at my wedding. So we've known each other for many years. So that was, you know, it is fun that this person that my character apparently hates is actually a good friend of mine.
That's how it goes a lot.
It is, yeah, often. And so we've, you know, at cons and things, we've often staged pictures of like her punching me out to just get revenge. Oh, we were going to do that one, we forgot to do that. We'll do it, we'll figure it out. And, oh yeah, and just on a side note, Conrad Werner, who you might remember as the irritating Shepard superfan who keeps showing up in the games, he's actually, and who I ended up shooting in the foot potentially, he's played by Jeff Page, who is another very good friend of mine that I've known for years, done lots of theater with. So it is funny that these two people who are thorns in Shepard's side are actually very nice actors and good friends of mine.
Thanks.
Not at all.
Hi, gentlemen. Hey. So, I'm curious, of all the works that you've done, what role that you do not currently hold would you like to have had?
Which one got away?
Yeah.
Like, is this one that we actually auditioned for, or one just a dream role?
That you know you'd really want to do, or one that that you tried to get but you just couldn't quite
Okay.
have?
I'm not even sure if I'd be the right person for it necessarily, but I've been a lifelong comic book fan, and I'm a big fan of the super villains. So the one role that I would love to get a chance to play is the dictator of Latveria, Victor von Doom.
You have this.
But of course I could, Fred. You don't need to tell me, tell the casting directors at Marvel.
They don't listen to me.
But you're the Hulk. Put in a good word for your old buddy Victor, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, all right, dude.
And yeah, so of course, you know, in my books, Victor Von Doom must have an accent. And actually, who did it on Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Because he was one of the best.
Maurice LaMarche did it, the last one, I think it was Murray, I think it was Mo.
Yeah.
I think it was Maurice, yeah. I would check my facts.
And those are excellent Dooms, so I'm not going like, I can do it better than those guys.
No.
But yeah, Dr. Doom is like, to me, he's the iconic villain. And also he's one that, they still don't seem to have got right in movies so far. And I do hear there's rumors that Fox is doing a standalone Doctor Doom movie, which I'd love. I'll be first in line.
Another villain that should have been a good guy. It is kind of. You know, it's weird. It's
He wants to rule the world because in his mind he knows that he would be the one who would.
Latveria likes him.
Yeah, Latveria loves
He
him.
can do it better, he can. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, maybe the Joker. I don't know. I'd love to try that. Well, hi everybody, it's the Joker. No, I'm just kidding. Well, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
Are you going to do it like that, Fred? On the day you're going to do it? Okay.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
James Bond, how are you?
Oh, boy. Hello.
I'm short, so I have to change the mic. First of all, let me apologize to Mark Meer because I play Fem Shep. I never hear your lines.
That's okay. Even if you play as Jennifer, you have to listen as me as a bunch of aliens. So I'm still there.
But my question is, I've been made fun of for stuttering my entire life. So I was just wondering if there's any advice you can give to me, and I rehearsed this a million times in my head. If there's any advice you could give to me to maybe get over that.
I mean, we're not speech therapists, but I do know that they have a variety of techniques and exercises that can help with that. I do know some friends of mine that have had similar challenges, and they said that actually being on stage did really help them with that. And you don't necessarily need to be performing. Things like improv workshops, usually most cities will have improv groups that you can do drop-in sessions with and things like that. And they're great for building confidence, not only with vocally and whatnot, but also just in everyday life.
Thank you.
And there is there things that set you off for stuttering, or is it just like a normal thing for you?
Usually when I get nervous.
Yeah.
If it's a topic that I know I'm well versed in, I can go on, but.
Right. There's a lot of therapies for that, and you probably know the James Earl Jones story, right? You know the voice of Darth Vader. He's a stutterer, and he really just theater, reading out loud, and practicing like you did. I know I had some friends that got through it and over it, and also there's another side to it too, which is, I know it's easy to say this, but if you stutter, then just let that out. It's hard because people are so cruel. They can be weird, and there's a point where we have to just say, hey, you know what? This is what I got right now, and own that, and that might help with the nerves, But you'll do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really short question for Mark.
Yes.
I was extremely sad to hear that you're leaving after this. I had intended to get a signature for Bruce. Will you be here next year?
Well, that would be up to MegaCon, but I would love to come back. I would love to. And actually, I was here for about 10 days before this doing the Orlando Fringe, and I had a great time there. So, again, they're on a lottery system, so if I had my way, I would come back next year and do the Orlando Fringe again and do MegaCon. So you never know. You never know.
Hello.
Hello. Nice Charmander Shepherd t-shirt.
Thank you. In all seriousness, has there ever been thought of a Pokemon crossover? No, yeah.
Yes, by the person who made that illegal t-shirt.
And Seven has had a
that's
crossover.
been
I don't
made.
think they had the license.
No, yeah, I don't think they have a license for either of those.
So my actual question is for Mark.
Yes.
How was recording the Citadel DLC lines when you were talking to yourself? And
It was great. It was lots of fun. And of course, there are spoilers, but in the Citadel DLC, of course, there's an evil shepherd clone that shows up, and you get to basically fight against your own evil self. But more than that, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but I do the voices of all the Vorcha. Anytime you see a Vorcha in Mass Effect, it is me. So I'm all of that alien race. I'm also all of the Hanar, the sort of jellyfish guys, including Blasto. So all the way through 2 and into 3, there was all these Blasto Easter eggs. It was like just a little side note thing. For those who don't know, we're this sort of pacifistic jellyfish-like alien race. One of them stars in essentially a line of Dirty Harry movies, where one of them is like a violent take-no-prisoners cop called Blasto. And in the Citadel DLC, Shepard actually stumbles across some people on the set of a Blasto movie. So Blasto is there, And Shepard comes in, and so Blasco and Shepard are there, and the other person in the scene is a Vorcha. So I was actually all three people in that scene. And that was a nice little joke, but it wasn't the first time that I'd done that actually, because as far back as Mass Effect 1, there were, I think this was in 2, this particular scene. I played a lot of just sort of minor characters as well, like various, Volus and Turians and whatnot, and I was a human merc who actually is holding a gun to someone's head as Shepard bursts into the room and it's like, don't move, we're all, and then Shepard shoots him. So I shoot myself in the head in that scene. And yeah, so it's always fun. That's always fun. Thank you.
Jellyfish, Man-O-War Force.
Man-O-War.
Oh good, someone wearing officially licensed t-shirt.
Thank you.
So this is actually a question to both of you. In regards to your voice acting lines, I know I spoke to you earlier. You said that you were in the studio for about like a year for each game.
Yeah, again, that's just because of the bulk of the dialogue for Shepard. Mass Effect was, of course, one of the first games that had a voiced player character. So Jennifer and I, we had a lot of sessions. We wouldn't necessarily be in every day, but it would be something like, we'll need you 3 days next week, and then, every day the following week, then you're off for a week, then 2 days. So it was, as I say, not every day, but pretty steady work over the course of a year for each game.
So, well, my question is, how annoying or tiring was it to just read the same line over and over again? Like, I know you, especially in the Citadel DLC, had that whole "I should go" thing.
Yes.
But like, how tiring does that get? How many "I should goes" do you do?
It wasn't tiring because, of course, Shepard does need a way to end conversations in a game that is, the bulk of it is conversations. And it wasn't always "I should go." There were variations like "I have to get going," "I should be going now," and "I should go" seems to be the one that rose to the top. But I will say, to BioWare's credit, they could have made Jennifer and I just say that line once each and reuse it, but they didn't. We said it every single time, which means that, and we get paid by the hour, so. Get an agent, Fred, get an agent. So just on the strength of the amount of times I said "I should go," that's probably at least a few hours of pay that I earned just saying that line. So
I'd say a Ferrari's worth of "I should go."
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe a modest mortgage in Canada's worth of.
The key too is that you because of that reason your challenge then as a voice actor is to make each one of those things unique, because it really can be it's called battle chatter. It can be very redundant in your head, and that is part of the labor of the job, which is fine because every job has that. But what I found is that you just try to make it as specific as you can. So it's a weird exercise to say, "Get over there, get over there, get over there." You got to figure out, and sometimes I have to point just to remind myself, I want you to get over there. And I'm constantly thinking of the player. I'm constantly thinking, that has to be real every time they hear it. So the challenge then is, it's a different kind of thing, because you love the acting beats, but you're just doing the same acting you'll see you do 3 in a row. You're doing 3 acting beats per the same line for 60 pages. So you got to make sure, sometimes you just got to reset your mind and make sure that it's as specific and as real as possible. So
you're saying basically you do a line, the same line in particular, maybe 3 to 16 different times?
Yeah. Yeah, and you just try to make it as specific as possible. It's another kind of exercise. It's really weird.
Yeah, there's about, I think there's about 347 variants of "I should go" that we
I should go.
I should go. I should go.
I should go.
I should go.
I should go.
Go, I should.
So everybody who's in line, we want to try to get through all of you. We've got about 10 minutes left. I think we can do this, right?
Yes.
All right.
I have a question for Fred. How did it feel to play Ark?
It is wonderful to play Ark because it was such an honor. He has such heart. He's such a gentle giant. He's oddly a pacifist until later because he was taken away too early to fight wars, and he learned that was a horrible thing. And so now he's trying to always do the peaceful, wise thing, and he connects to Toby, who is played by Charlie Saxton wonderfully, and they're I just love how they are together. So yeah, it fills my heart with joy. It really does. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, this question is for both of you. Upon last summer, I saw Lucy Hale and Liara. I can't remember the person who plays her.
Oh, Allie Hills.
Yes.
And Jennifer Hale, yes.
Jennifer Hale, sorry. Who am I saying Lucy Hale? Wow.
Because Lucy Lawless is here.
Yes, that's probably it.
That's right.
Third base.
Thank you for saving me. That's good. They spoke a lot about the activism surrounding the conditions of having to do all the shouts and screams and stuff like that. And so, I was wondering about your guys' take on that.
Well, it doesn't actually directly affect me because I'm not in the American Union. I'm a Canadian performer. But certainly, of course, I support my fellow vocal performers. And it's true that some people have actually suffered damage to their voice, like just pushing and pushing and pushing. So I think it's good that there be some rules in place just for the protection of actors. I mean, that's why we have, say, Actors Equity or any union.
You get health care.
Yes, yeah. Also in Canada, we have free healthcare, so yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Now we start on all.
Ages would not have
No, here's what it is. Yes, protection of your voice is incredibly important. It's like the strings of your instrument. You can blow them out. And we've tried to put things in place. It's very difficult to make that in a contract. But what I've learned is if it's going to be a big yelling session, I try to reduce it to 2 hours rather than 4. And then education for everybody who does this stuff about what are the medicines, what are the rests you need, what are the teas, the throat sprays, you gotta it's like doing stunts. You have to self-regulate. If you're a person that, I love doing stage stunts and stuff, like you have to know, like I can only do this like 10 times, and how many times do you want me to go, "Aye!" Well, okay, are they having you do it for, really, do they need 10 of those? That's a...
Because they're probably going to use the first one.
They'll use the first one. Yeah. So you gotta kind of like go, guys, it's really hard.
We do nine more takes of this? Who cares?
Yeah, you're right. And to their credit, they just want all the elements and stuff. And most people now, there's awareness, and they're trying to really be careful. I worry for the people coming in, young, folks who are just starting, because I yelled my way into this business, until they said, "Oh, he does comedy. Oh, he acts. Oh, like that." It was not. It's hard because you want to throw everything to the wall, and if you don't know, you're going to hurt yourself. And I did, and it's no fun. So you just you gotta self-regulate. But yeah, there's a lot of info out there on that. And if you have I'm here. If you have questions, I got tons. I got a litany on it. So if anyone wants to ask me, I'm happy to share any information.
Thank you both.
Sure.
Thank you.
We got about 4 minutes, guys.
Let's get through it.
It's a hit.
You look great.
Yep. What are some of your favorite lines that you ever had to say? Can you do the characters?
I should go. I mean, that did help pay my mortgage, so yeah, I should go. Let's see. I'll relinquish one bullet. Where do you want it? It is too late for me. It's a big, stupid jellyfish. And of course, well, bang, okay? I never actually said that. Gamer Poop sliced that together, but I do love Gamer Poop, so. And I write Will Bang okay, like on merch, as much as I write anything that's actually in the game. So, thank you, Manslayer, thank you, Gamer Poop.
I want peanut butter!
And specifically for Fred, can you do a Kazaku from Naruto impression?
Yes, I can. Why? What do you need? Shut up, Edon. Let's go find what we need. Oh, I'm rather negative, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's say you guys were just like the dictator of everything voice acting and you could make one decision to change something about voice acting, what would you guys do?
I would love to see the voice actors known, be a little less anonymous in terms of like, what's wonderful in Japan is you would go see a Maurice LaMarche, Billy West movie, right? Because they are known for their work. It'd be nice, I don't mean starstruck or anything know, I mean, all actors should be allowed to do everything, you know, but I would just love it if there was a little more understanding of that art form, and like, oh, that has marquee value. You know, not for the money, just for the art.
In Japan, Megumi Hayashibara has the kind of esteem that Meryl Streep does in the States, you know?
That's what I want to. I say that too.
And you guys I can tell, were both the inspiration for your dances in both Overwatch and Mass Effect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What's my name? Seriously, what is my name?
Did you do the mocap for them?
Yes.
Oh, really? I didn't actually. They had, funnily enough, they had a special forces guy do it.
Oh, really?
And
no, this was animation, told me.
Oh, there you go.
I'm an aspiring voice actor, and I've always, wanted to get into the profession and everything. Kind of get to your level of you guys. I'm going to be moving to LA by the end of the year. I was wondering what you guys would do in my shoes, like as soon as you get there.
Well, you live in LA, so
Immediately be independently wealthy.
Yeah, people give you money and you get a car. No, I would say, okay, you're already an actor, right? Like, I mean, you studying.
I am studying.
Okay, that's mainly just do stage, just study the acting and then get into a voice acting class. There's tons of them, just to get the technique going and get yourself heard and get a demo. That's what I would do.
I'm always like trying to find a class. I'm like, here, pay us $2,000.
Oh, that's a little bit much. That's a little expensive.
Exactly.
The things that we brought up earlier, have you looked into any of those? The D. Bradley Baker site, Steve Bloom's thing?
Steve Bloom.
Yeah, check out Dee's thing. It's amazing.
they're very good resources. And
I want to be a voiceactor.com.
From D. Bradley Baker.
Very hard to remember. Okay, this is going to be
But good luck to you.
Is this
Good luck to
good?
you.
I'm the last
Oh
one.
shoot.
Is it good? You
Yeah.
promised me?
Okay, so this question's for both of you.
Yes.
Since you don't always do everything in order, you just said, when you guys like do like the lines or like look at what's happening, do you ever like, are you ever surprised by like plot developments, like verbal,
Always.
for example?
I had the advantage of being privy to a fair bit of the plot, just because of I had to know a lot because of being the main character in Mass Effect. However, like when I do Dragon Age, I know nothing about the plot. So in a lot of ways, as a gamer, it's a lot more fun for me to play those, because I'll just be playing them and then discover myself and then kill myself and then yeah, this is true. Without knowing everything that happens. But when you're a main character, especially in a game like Mass Effect where it's a voice protagonist, you do tend to know almost everything.
Agreed.
There you go. Wait, how fast do we think these two can be?
Let's get
Fast?
these two.
Real fast, do it.
As a voice actor, have you worked on any projects here in Florida?
I have not.
I've recorded with people in Florida, but I never actually worked in Florida.
Do you have to move to LA to work on big projects?
It helps, yes. You don't have to, but it helps.
I live in Canada.
You get more projects in Canada.
Yeah, by the way, healthcare? Yeah.
And healthcare.
Will you be at BlizzCon this year?
I can't even get into BlizzCon. No, if they invite me, yes. But I wasn't there last year, and I'll just see what they're going to do. I have no idea. Are you going, you think? You want to go?
I'm trying.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never been.
Oh, it's fun. It's great. It's amazing. But it's gotten so hard to get in.
Let's see. It's fairly close. So I'll be at Dragon Con this year. So.
Oh yeah. So any other con?
Dragon Con, like as far as the states, I think it's Dragon Con. The rest of my stuff's all in Canada or New Zealand. So.
So our last little button. Anybody in particular that when you do group records that you love recording with, that you cut up with, that you make people's lives hell, in particular that you just love being in a booth with?
Oh God, there's too many. Almost everybody. Kevin Michael Richardson, John DiMaggio, D. Bradley Baker. Oh gosh,
Who makes things apocalyptic the fastest?
I think maybe John or Kevin. Yeah, sometimes me, but yeah, Nolan. Does. Yeah, he's amazing. He will.
You never know when Nolan's going to bring out Mickey Mouse and have Mickey Mouse say,
I'm a chicken. Yeah, no, he's hilarious. Yeah, right. Oh, we do Mickey Mouse and Donald together. We have a terrible recording in Nickelodeon of those two things. Oh, what happened? I can't repeat it. Come back, terrible chick. Watch. No, you know.
And on that note.
When I left
Felicity, the producers of the show, also gave me this beautiful Martin guitar signed by the entire cast.
That's nice. You're racking up guitars.
I know! I need to quit jobs more often.
When we finish this panel, I've got one backstage for you too. Yeah.
Austin St. John, I think is now or was recently working on a crowdfunded action movie with a bunch of former Power Ranger people. I'm not sure. I want to know if you were contacted for that or if you knew about it at all.
Karen Ashley's movie?
I'm pretty sure Austin St. John was directing.
The Order, yeah. I'm not a part of that, but I know that they're still working on getting that going. There was a little bumps in the road, but they're still working on it for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, Amy, quick question. If they offered you to come back in part 2, Power Rangers, would you prefer being like a parent to the new Tommy Oliver, or a